Use the power of discovering new habits to create success in all areas of life. Body, fitness and nutrition, being, spirituality, passion and purpose, balance, marriage, kids and relationships, business, marketing, sales, leadership and systems. Transform your life by learning how habits work. And now your host, husband, father, entrepreneur, trainer, coach, and warrior, Jesse Buell.
Welcome back to the Habit-Based Lifestyle Podcast. I'm your host, Jesse Buell. Today, we're going to be talking about the habit of playing small. Now, before we get started on this, I want to kind of segue into this as a story. And the story takes place about 4 years ago, 4.5 years ago, August of 2015. I was in the middle of Warrior Week, and we happened to be in a boxing match where me and another man had we were boxing, and each of these would go like 1 minute rounds. But the point of it was to kind of access your dark warrior, access this part of yourself that had been hidden, and you've suppressed it deep down inside. For me, it was like I suppressed it, being that, hey, a lot of people couldn't handle, I had a story, a lot of people couldn't handle me, so I just decided to play small and suppress it. Well, as this goes on, me and another gentleman, we're boxing, and all of a sudden, I hit him pretty hard in the nose, and his nose just like breaks open and starts bleeding everywhere. And as it's bleeding everywhere, everything kind of stops. And mind you, the purpose of this is not necessarily to beat the other person up. The purpose of this is just to access this dark warrior, to quit playing small, and just to realize that other people, can't handle you. And as we're doing this, Garrett White, the founder of Wake Up Warrior, is, talking to this other gentleman, and in a way of like yelling, like, hey, look at you, man. You did not give up. Like, you kept fighting. And he turns to me and he tells me this thing. He says, this is what your wife wants you to do. This is what you were meant to do, is to not play small. This is what you're meant to do, is to play full out. And this is how your wife wants you to show up. And, as I remember this day, as I talk about this podcast today, I want you to kind of think of where in your life, are you playing small? And as we go through this, I'll drop in some areas of my life where I've played small, but this was one of the big moments in my life that I realized, holy crap, man, I've been playing small for a long time. And so as I talk to you about this in this episode today, it comes from a place of me playing small in my life, and almost like a reminder of this. I can remember watching this in a movie. It's in a docuseries by Wake Up Warrior, but I actually have this Warrior Week 21, this whole docuseries. It's about a 10-minute segment where, Garrett's going back and forth between both of us, but I clearly remember this, conversation where he's yelling, hey, stop playing small. You're not serving anyone. And so that's the context of the episode today. But think about this as we go through this today. You may be playing small somewhere in your life. And as I talk about this, I want you to really dive into it from, okay, well, where am I at today? So let's get into the episode. So a lot of times it's like, how do we want to live our life? How do we want to show up in our life? And most people never say they want to play small in life. They never actually say, hey, I want to play small in my life. Yet how many times have you caught yourself doing this exact thing? And I know for myself, it's happened hundreds of times. And I can remember a time where I had no idea that I was doing this. I would play small because of fear. Fear that, I would imagine some bad shit happening or going to happen, which was always way worse in my mind than in real life. I can remember leveraging this early on in business where, some new gym would open up down the street or some new training facility would open up down the street. And I would create a story that it was like me against this other gym. And, eventually, maybe everybody would want to leave and go to this other gym. And so what did that push me to do? It pushed me to operate out of fear and operate from this place of, oh shit, I better get my stuff together. But I can also remember doing this in sports, creating these stories that, people were training harder than me. People were doing things more than me. Even in competitions, I can remember training for things like Kokoro, Go Ruck, and different events where I had these stories that, it was going to be way worse than it actually was. And I think for a point in time, playing small does actually serve you, but it doesn't serve me any longer. And I think playing small, it's important because we have to begin to identify when we're actually doing it. So I actually do think it's a natural part of growth. It's a natural part of our life, but we also have to recognize it because when we play small and when we recognize this, we become aware of it. We also know what it's like to actually play big. And so we get that differentiator of small and big. And if I never played small, I would never really know what playing big feels like. And so when you're listening to this, it's like, don't feel guilty for doing this. Just recognize, hey, when am I actually playing small? So I played small. A lot of times, you had this fear of this thing was going to be way worse than it actually was. And whenever you always seem to step through the fear, it was like, man, like I made this out to be 10 times worse than it actually was. I would play small because I was scared of success. I can remember even in high school, like not wanting to talk about my success, not wanting to be out in front of the center stage. I was okay with doing it on the field and kind of hiding under my helmet, hiding under my pads. But the minute that came off, I would kind of shrink down because it was kind of it was kind of a weird feeling when I was at the center of attention. But I remember putting a lot of pressure on myself to perform, because it was like the more successful I was, I put a lot more pressure on myself to hold that standard. And when I held that standard, it would almost feel like a failure if I didn't live up to that standard. And then when I would do that, I would kind of get in this dark place. I can remember just playing college football and, being a starter my freshman year and, having a lot of really good games and almost and making like all league, even as a freshman, all conference. And I can remember when I broke my hand and having to get surgery and I didn't get to play one game and I didn't get to practice 1 week. And then I remember coming into the next game and I remember making a huge mistake. But it was like this mistake that I couldn't recover from. And I remember that was kind of the last game I ever played in college. But I remember how small I felt making that mistake. And oftentimes we feel small when we make a mistake. And so when we make a mistake, we have a hard time recovering from that mistake. And so we actually stop. We stop playing because we're afraid to make mistakes. We stop producing in business because we're afraid to make mistakes. We stop marketing because we're afraid to make mistakes. We stop investing in money, in coaching and things like that because we're afraid to make mistakes. And it's crazy to think back on, my career in sports and how, fear and not wanting to make mistakes were some of the big drivers. They made me really successful, but at the same time, when I would make mistakes, I would feel like a failure. And sometimes that feeling of like a failure would make me want to work hard. Other times it would just kind of shut me down and I wouldn't want to do anything. But it's crazy to think back that, playing small, not feeling good enough, things like that. It's crazy to think back that this not feeling good enough had kept me and has kept me at times from posting on social media for years. It kept me from doing videos. It kept me from posting anything about anything real in life. And, maybe once in a while I would have posted, some, motivational stuff. Usually that's what happens is we post motivational stuff when we're afraid to post on social media. So we just, hey, I'll post motivational stuff because no one will think that I'm playing small if I do that. I'll post inspirational stuff all the time because if I do that, then no one will actually realize that deep down I'm playing small and I'm not posting anything about my real life. And at times I can get caught up in this today. And you begin to realize this one thing is when you begin to stop playing small, when you begin to step out and start playing big, you realize most people who are playing small will be your biggest critics. That's right. Most people who are playing small will be some of your biggest critics. And it has nothing to do with you. It has everything to do with them. Because here's what I know. Here's what I would do. I would criticize the person who's playing all out on the field in the game of life. Think about this. How often do you watch football games? How often do you watch baseball games? And you're sitting there saying exactly what the person should or shouldn't be doing. And guess where you are? You're on the sideline. You're actually not even on the sideline. You're actually in the stands. You're not even in the stands. You're at home in the chair saying that, hey, this is what you should be doing. When you're on the sidelines of life, it's easy to criticize the ones on the field playing the game because you have the best view. You see, you have the best view when you're in the sidelines or in the stands of life. But there's one big difference. When you're on the sidelines of life, you're actually not playing the game. You're still playing small. And when you're playing small, there's no real way to win. You can't play the game when you're on the sidelines. And here's another thing. When you play small, you are helping no one. You're helping no one when you play small. You're not even helping yourself. So think about this. If you're a coach, if you're a trainer, consultant, business owner, entrepreneur, playing small serves no one. Playing small doesn't work. Because here's the reality. Too many people today are playing small. Too many people allow their fear-based ego to rule over them. And you know what's crazy is the results are overwhelming. This is the results you get from playing small. Not being fulfilled. So if you're a business owner, if you're a coach, if you're a trainer, if you're a consultant, if you're an entrepreneur and you're not fulfilled by what you're doing, you may actually be playing small. The other result, not leveraging your unique gifts and talents. Think about this. We're all born with these gifts, everybody, these talents that we have, but if we keep them hidden and we keep them covered up, we don't benefit, and therefore no one else benefits from this. And we all have these gifts. We all have these talents, no matter what size, shape, personality you are. We all have this. Another result is not contributing to people's lives. One of the greatest things that will fulfill you in your life is contribution. And this is kind of like stage 2 of your life. When you realize you can contribute to other people's lives, it impacts your life even more. I can think of myself spending nearly the last 20 years as a trainer, as a coach, in the amount of lives I've impacted. But guess what? The more people's lives you impact, the more money you make. The less people's lives you impact, the less money you make. And so when you're not contributing to other people's lives, when you're not contributing to your own life, you're actually going to end up making less money. And so there's a lot of coaches and trainers who don't make the money they want because they're too busy playing small. And their last result, which may be the biggest one and the cascade effect of everything else, is you're not making the money you want to make. And so if you're a trainer, if you're an entrepreneur, if you're a business owner and you're not making the money you want to make, it may have something to do with playing small. It may have something to do with your fear of success. It may have something to do with you not feeling good enough. And even after speaking on this today, I think back to all the times I played small, even times today. And I think, why the hell would I want to do this? Why the hell would I even want to be here? So I want to give you guys a couple practical tools, a couple practical ways that you can work through playing small. Number one of the most important things in the way I started this episode is talking about a mentor or coach, hiring a mentor or coach, having a mentor or coach, because here's why. They will push you to play bigger than you are. They will hold you accountable, and if they're a good coach, they will punch you in the face. And I don't mean figuratively. I mean in a way of, hey, look at you, man. You're playing small. You have the potential. You have the opportunity to play so much bigger. Stop hiding your light. Stop dimming your light. So number one is hire a mentor or coach. Number two is when you feel the fear of stepping out, instead of contracting, instead of dimming your light, lean into it instead of hiding from it. Now realize this, it's easy to say that, but the majority of your fear is in your head. It's fear from past programming. It's fear from some other place. And it's easy to say, but here's what I could tell you. I can promise you that when you lean into the other side of fear, when you lean into that fear, on the other side of this is freedom. And the more you can step into this fear, the more you will find freedom on the other side, and the more you'll find this natural essence of who you really are. So make sure that when you feel fear, step into that. Because on the other side of that is freedom. Now, when you fear success, you got to get really clear on one thing. Decide how successful you really want to be. Define your success. Because you have exactly what you can handle. But you got to get clear on the success you want to create. And if you feel like it's too much or it's overwhelming at times, it just really means you got to get grounded. It means you got to get grounded in where you are. And it's okay to feel that overwhelming. It's okay to fear success. But don't let it keep you down where you're at. Find a place to ground yourself in that and just to work through it. Now, those are three things. So number one is hire a mentor or coach, stepping into the fear to find freedom. And when you fear success, just get clear on the success that you actually want. Get grounded in that. And then I want to give you some final words for today. Your playing small does not serve you. It does not serve people in and around you in your world. No one gains anything by you dimming your light. No one gets bigger by you shrinking. And here's the crazy thing, is we were all meant to shine. We were all meant to shine our light. And when you let your light shine, it actually gives others permission to do the same. And you know what's crazy? As we begin to liberate ourselves from our own fears, it actually liberates others. See, the world doesn't need more people playing small. The world needs more people playing out loud and playing big. And it's time for you, it's time for me to stop hiding and start leading. So I want you guys to do this one thing. I want you to share this episode with a friend who's maybe helped you and kept you from playing small, or you may want to share this with a friend who you've noticed playing small, and be a light to them. Lift them up, shine your light on them, and help them through this, because it takes all of us to work together to do this. It takes coaches, it takes friends, it takes mentors, but shine a light for someone else. Share this episode up. And I want to thank you guys for being on here. If you're looking to connect further with a group of like-minded people, join myself and so many others in the Habit-Based Lifestyle Secrets group on Facebook, where I'll be dropping daily habits to help you live to your full potential. Maybe you want to be one of our next case studies and begin living this habit-based lifestyle. If you have questions, concerns, comments, requests, leave me a review. We love 5-star reviews. Feel free to contact me, Jesse, at habitbasedlifestyle.com. Until next episode, have a great day.